Okay, I've been told I have to like basically eat this microphone. So if you can't hear, just shout out eat or something like that. Okay. All right, I'll talk louder. So I want to thank everyone for coming this evening. Uh, for us to see a turnout like this means that people here in Orange County care about what happens in their community, and therefore they have to be involved in knowing who who is running, what those people stand for, so that you vote for the person who has the values that you have, that says that they're going to do the things that you'd like to see. So thank you all. This event tonight is sponsored by the Lake of the Woods External Affairs Committee, and various members of our committee are here helping, doing time. Dave Davies is going to help with time. If you have questions, we're only taking questions in writing, so you can go talk to Rich over there by the front door. My name is Terry Vickery, and I'll be your moderator. Like I mentioned, questions only in writing. So, and they can come throughout the day or the evening. If you think of a question, jump up, go over to that table, fill out a card, and then that card will be given to me. Yes. I'll explain it in just a sec. So just a sec. So this is a 2-hour event, right? So I sat down and did the math, and it means that we have 3 candidate groups. Each group gets 40 minutes, all right? Each candidate is going to be given 5 minutes to introduce themselves. Then we will have a time for approximately 5 questions per candidate group, right? And each candidate will get up to 3 minutes to answer each question. So we're going to start here, and these people are the first 2 gentlemen are Virginia State delegates for House District 63, Mr. Phil Scott and Mr. Forrest Miller. So we'll go with them first. Second, we will do Orange County School Board, Orange County Board of Supervisors, District 4, which is Crystal Hale and Robert Rabe. Then we will do the Orange County School Board, District 4, which is O'Brien Martin and Tina Whittington. Okay? What I ask all of you is that when you write your questions out, that they not be of a personal or inappropriate nature, because if they are, they're not going to get up here. And if they get up here by accident, I will not ask them. We also ask that you don't interrupt the candidates while they're speaking, all right? Which means also hold your applause until each group is finished. And if you are disruptive, we will ask you to leave, okay? So let's have some fun. We're going to start off with these 2 gentlemen, and since Mr. Scott is closer to me, he gets to go first.
I got to make sure I am very close to the microphone. I was given the same instructions, which means that I don't have to project as much. Please bear with me. I had oral surgery about a week ago, had a tooth extracted, still on a lot of pain medicine, but I'm here because it's important to make sure that you're engaging with your constituents, making sure that you're engaging with the voters. I would like to start off by just giving a little bit of background about me. I've got 5 daughters. And in 2019, I was considering running for public office, and I considered running for school board. And I was also considering a path in pastoral ministry. And I put that before God and said, God, you direct my path. You show me where you want me to go. And as things would have it, I put in a resume for a pastoral position, never got a call. And then I started getting involved with the local Republican committee in Spotsylvania. And they called me up and said, hey, we need somebody to run for school board in your district. And so started having those conversations, started meeting with folks. Put my name in my hat in the ring for school board in 2019. I did not win that race. The reason why I did not win that race is it was not God's timing. September of that year, my 4th daughter, Brianna, was born with trisomy 18. or Edwards syndrome, a rare chromosomal abnormality that causes a lot of medical complications. And we spent from September to about the week before Thanksgiving that year, the entire campaign season, up in Children's National in DC. What that did is that opened my eyes to a lot of the issues that we have in the healthcare sector here in Virginia. We have a robust healthcare system, but some of the access, there are hurdles that need to be overcome by the average family, and they don't know how to overcome those. And so I stayed plugged in and connected with my local community throughout those 2 years. I was on the Citizen Budget Review Committee in Spotsylvania, stayed engaged. And when Mark Gold decided not to run for re-election, he called me and said, "Hey, I think you should run." I said, okay, I had a few meetings with him, talked about what it would look like to run and what it would look like to be elected. And my wife and I decided, no, not for us. We don't have the time commitment to give to that. But a series of conversations transpired after that. And I really felt that it was the calling for me to throw my hat in the ring for delegate, and ran in the primary of 2021, won the primary, and then won the election in November. Since then, I have been very tuned in to ways to make access to healthcare better. We have a lot of wasteful spending with Medicaid and Medicare. When I was out campaigning, I was talking about trying to tighten up some of these spending things. And this one guy came out, he said, hold on 1 second. He went in his house and he grabbed a binder that he got for Medicare. And he was like, I got this big binder sent to me this year, and here's the one that was sent to my wife. Why can't we just do something simple and make sure that it's just one going to a household? Simple ways to make sure that we're cutting the spending where it needs to be cut to make sure that the money is going to the people who need it. And so I've been looking for ways to try to trim back spending in the administrative side to make sure money goes towards the families. Another thing that I have come across in the past few years is my daughter Brianna requires private duty nursing. And because of that, if a nurse calls out, mom or dad, we have to be there to take care of Brianna. My wife can't work. And so I've actually worked 3, 4 jobs to try to provide for our family because my wife cannot get a job. She has to be there in case that nurse calls out. When that nurse calls out, my wife doesn't get paid. Now, there are other kids that are on Medicaid waivers that if they are requiring skilled nursing for extraordinary care and that caregiver calls out, the parent can get paid. I'm not saying one's better than the other, one's worse than the other, but we're trying to find ways that we can address this issue at the state level, because a lot of Medicaid and Medicare is controlled at the federal level. And so I've been talking with a lot of stakeholders over the past year to try to find ways that we can make things more accessible to parents that feel trapped, that cannot go and get a job because they've got a child with a lot of medical complications. We need to make sure that we're empowering the parents to take care of their kids. We need to make sure that we are empowering children to have access to care. My daughter Brianna, ever since she's had the physical therapy and the occupational therapy, she has grown exponentially, mentally, emotionally, and physically. And I see the value of those things. And I want to make sure that all Virginians have access to those, because that is what's important to me. And if it's important to me, then I know it's going to be important to other Virginians. And I talk to a lot of Virginians, and healthcare is one of the top concerns that they have. And access to quality healthcare. There's no hospital here in Orange. We need to make sure that we are reforming something called COPN, okay, Certificate of Public Need. We need to make sure that we're addressing this and rolling back some of these regulations so there's not some board, some body in Richmond that's saying, hospital here, no hospital here. MRI machine here, no MRI machine here. Those are the things that are most important to me because I see how they impact everybody. And speaking specifically here in Lake of the Woods, it's an aging community. It's the way it is. And we need to make sure that the people here in Lake of the Woods have access to quality healthcare, a good doctor, good specialist, and they don't have to drive to Culpeper. They don't have to drive to Fredericksburg to get that. Because I'm sure many of you have had to make that decision of, do I drive to Fredericksburg or do I drive to Culpeper? If it's Fredericksburg and it's Friday at 4 o'clock, it's going to take me 2.5, 3 hours to get to the doctor. And there's a whole lot more that I would love to say, but I've just been given the sign that my time is up. And there's a lot more that I have done over the past 4 years being in office, and I hope that I get to explain more as the night goes on.
Great.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. So as he figured out, our timer puts up a 2-minute warning and then says time is up. I'm going to make one request. Can we take that second microphone and move it down here? That way, while these two are talking, they don't have to be passing the microphone back and forth. And then just when you guys are finished. All right. Mr. Miller.
Thank you. So appreciate you having us, the external Lake of the Woods committee. I know what it takes to put these kind of events on. It's not an easy lift. It's most likely a heavy lift to coordinate, organize all this stuff. So thank you for having us. Already it's been a great event because we don't have an empty chair. So my name's Forrest Miller. I'm running for House of Delegates in District 63. I was born and raised in Alabama, multi-generational military, law enforcement, and postal worker family. So if you ask me where I'm from, I have to think about that for a minute. I joined the Army in 2000. I started as an E1, so private. Got stationed at the 82nd Airborne twice. So the first time was early 2000s. Got selected to work at the White House Communication Agency for a while, where I really learned a lot into leadership. And I made my NCO rank there. And from there, I went to be a warrant officer. I was a technician, so I was a network engineer for about 12 years, the last half of my career. So I think that I've led on multiple combat tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. One of the things that I like to say is through my assignments in the 82nd Airborne Division, where I jumped out of a lot of planes, I've been in 64 car wrecks, is what I tell everybody. I worked at the White House, like I said, where I met my wife. She was also in the Army when we met. And I was stationed at U.S. Northern Command as my last assignment, running communications for the 4-star general out there. That's where I retired from. I accepted a position over here in the Virginia area. It was like coming back home to me because we had been here for probably 6 years. I met my wife here down in Alexandria. So it was like coming back home. Something I do want to get into is where I come from as a family. That 21 years I did in the military really made me. And I tell people it was probably the worst decision I made and the best decision I've made all at the same time. Because I wouldn't know who I'd be if it wasn't for those years. I met my wife. We had 2 kids, 2 wonderful, amazing kids that are in the Spotsylvania public school system right now. When I did get accepted to be a warrant officer, my wife decided to go to college. She ETS'd out of the military. She became a law enforcement officer when we were stationed in Colorado. So for 6 years, she pulled patrol, day shift, night shift, and then further moved into the schools to get along a more family-oriented schedule with this, and she became a school resource officer. So I have that perspective as well. Actually, one of my combat deployments for a year was during her pulling day shift and night shift. We're really not sure who raised our kids during that year, but I think we had some good support because they turned out really well. So that's really the depth that I bring to the table, the knowledge depth. All I've known throughout my life is public service. And that's what's made me sign back up after the 4 years of retirement and being a network engineer from private industry right now as a consultant to get involved again, because I have something to give and I need to give it right now back to our communities and establish a sense of future creative leadership thinking that is badly needed today. So what I'd like to bring to the table with my background is to have that conversation down in Richmond, to be our voices from District 63 down in Richmond, especially when it comes to data centers. I will request upon election to be on the technology committee because I've talked to many Board of Supervisor members right now, and they're asking the wrong questions when they're going into negotiations with these data center manufacturers and developers. And I want to get down there, really restructure a bill that came up last General Assembly and kind of build upon it and make it into more of a guideline, more of a workbook that's coming from Richmond out to all our local communities that give the city councils, the Board of Supervisors, the weapons they need at that negotiating table. They don't even know right now. They should be asking certain questions. So yeah, I got the 2-minute warning, but all that to say is I've supported and defended the Constitution all my life. It's all I know. And now I believe in my heart that we the people means all the people. I want to go to Richmond and represent all of District 63. And that is my goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. All right, we're going to move on to questions. Since you started, I'll let you start with the questions.
Perfect.
And we just happen to have a question about data centers, so I'll
Mhm.
ask that one first. Okay. The legislation, the legislature last year considered numerous bills that would have required transparency from data center companies. Most of those failed or were significantly watered down. Mr. Scott voted against these bills. So we'd like to know what you would do.
So leveraging my background, I think I bring a unique perspective that I haven't heard after talking to the community and talking to the leaders at the local level right now. To frame this correctly, I believe government is a conversation that builds a framework that allows us all to be successful. Using that mentality, that philosophy, I believe that we need to create that framework when it comes to data centers in Richmond. So I think the big piece that we're not talking about is, why do data centers want to be here? They want to be here more than we need them here. And that's due to the fiber optic backbone we have running through the Commonwealth. It runs up and down I-81 and 95 with cross links in between, and the transatlantic fiber cables come onshore in the Hampton Roads area. They want to be here due to that low latency connection they have globally. That's why they want to be here. And we got a really good power situation. So using that as leverage, I think we have more at the negotiating table than we realize. And we have to leverage that now. So there are ways. I've toured multiple data centers, and I've seen certain things inside of them that can be done, like water reuse. A lot of people are scared that they're going to tap into our drinking water. We can use gray water to set up cooling systems that run just inside the data center. And we don't have to tap into our drinking water. Power. We need to start looking at distributed generation power. So third-party people come online, they start working with Dominion, and they generate power we need for our neighborhoods and our farms, so that the big stuff can be generated for the data centers. And I'm just not going to, one of my policy standpoints is, I don't want to say no just for the sake of no. I don't believe that's a good policy standpoint. So we have to go in and look at, what does this give us? And the board of supervisors and the city councils are signing up left and right for data centers. That revenue is very attractive. You can build a school, you can build a medical clinic, you can help do a lot of stuff with that revenue. It just has to be responsibly grown, because it's coming no matter what we like it or not. Another piece to this we have to look at is some of the situations happening in other states and north here. So what's happening in Loudoun County is happening in Prince William County, and it will happen down here in Orange and Spotsylvania County if we're not careful. They are rezoning land around residential neighborhoods for special use permit so data centers can be built. Some living rooms in these single family homes can hear the cooling fans inside of them. What does that do to our land value? That is one of the bills that came up for a decibel study to be done before a site is selected. That is stuff that needs to be built into that framework, not individual bills. This has to happen from more of a comprehensive approach than I think we're doing these one-offs right now. So I would suggest a complete comprehensive task force that addresses this issue, and I think we can move forward and do this the right way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Mr. Scott.
Thank you. Data center is very, very hot topic right now. And without having the legislation in front of me and speaking to why I voted against a watered down piece of legislation that didn't really do what it sought to accomplish, or something that was a little bit more robust that kind of tied the hands of the locality, which I will always vote against something that's tying the hands of the locality, because I believe that the best representation is closest to the people. And then if a bill's not actually doing what it says it's supposed to do through the amendment process, I'm not going to support that legislation. So without having the individual bills in front of me in the language, I really can't speak to those things. But I can say for the past 4 years, I've been on the Rappahannock River Basin Commission. And that commission has been looking at data centers, specifically at the water usage of data centers. Supervisor Nichol is in the audience here. This year, I am chairing that commission. Okay, I was elected chair at the end of last year, beginning of this year. And I have been driving that commission to really take a hard look at data centers, how they impact the localities. And I've stood up 4 different work groups on that commission to look at different impacts of data centers and other things that are concerning to the Rappahannock River Basin. Um, Specifically on data centers, we're looking at any type of legislation that incentivizes them in a tax way to come to Virginia. We don't want to be doing that incentive at the state level. We want to make sure that we're giving the power and the authority to the local level. And so Delegate Milday was taking a hard look at that. We've had a lot of presentations when it comes to the water. When data centers were first being built, they were using the evaporative cooling systems. They were using a lot of water. And now the preferred method for these data centers is to use these closed loop systems that are using gray water or also called purple pipe water. And I know that Supervisor Nickel has made a very bold claim. He made it today at the EDG Economic Development Group meeting that happens once a month, that Orange County Board of Supervisors will not put in a data center in Orange County that taps into a water supply unless it's for a bathroom. You got to have potable water for a bathroom or for a kitchen. The technology is there to make these data centers more efficient when it comes to water usage. And so Orange County Board of Supervisors, they're on top of this. And they've been going back and forth looking at some of these different things. And so that's what we want to do. When I'm in Richmond, I don't want to rule with a heavy fist, because that's the responsibility of the locality. I want to make sure they have the tools and the resources and the freedoms to do what they need to do for their locality. Also, there was a JLARC study that came out. Now, that didn't help the Loudoun County data centers that were already built, but it's allowed some of these more rural areas to have a better perspective of what is appropriate, not appropriate as to the location of those things. And time is up, and I could speak for a lot longer on this topic, but thank you all.
It sounds like a topic that you're both passionate about. Sorry. So we talked about data centers, and one of the things that have to do with data centers is water. So we'll go on with that. And I'll let you start answer this question first. Eastern Orange County has only one source of drinking water with no reserve capacity. Would you support state funding to create a reservoir? And do you have any power to bring funds here?
That's an easy question. Yes, and I had a budget amendment for $27 million that was not included in the budget this past year. And I look forward to carrying that same budget amendment again and advocating for that water. The challenge that we have is every single water system in Virginia is aging. Every single water system in Virginia needs to be upgraded. I carry a piece of legislation that addressed the issue that happened with RSA here in the eastern part of the county last year in August, carried legislation to tighten the reporting requirements for these service authorities. And we weren't sure where that legislation was going to go. Unfortunately, fortunately, Richmond had a very similar situation. And so safe water access became a top priority for both Republicans and Democrats into the 2025 session. And we're able to work with stakeholders and create legislation that not everybody was happy with. Okay. So the service authorities, they weren't happy with all the requirements. The state was actually more happy with the reporting requirements because they felt that they would give them more transparency. But the fact that all the stakeholders were kind of like, oh, this is too much for us, I felt that was a good win for the people. Because that means that what we did, and by having those conversations, not just with the state agencies, but with the individual stakeholders, RSA, and some other water companies such as Aqua Virginia, we made sure that we put in a bill in the final form that was good for the people. And then Governor Youngkin tightened that down a little bit by shortening the reporting time frame, which really upset a lot of the stakeholders because now they only had a few hours. They had, I think it's now 2 or 3 hours instead of like 6 or 7. So he cut it down. And again, it's making sure that when I go to Richmond, I'm not going there based off of what I think is good for me, but being engaged with the people. And so everybody here on the eastern side of the county was very upset with the water. They felt that there was not a lot of transparency by RSA. And we've been holding their feet to the fire. There was a consent agreement that came from DEQ, and then Aqua provided a response to that. And there's been some back and forth. And from my understanding, that has been finalized. And we're waiting for that final document to come to my inbox. And once that's there, I'm going to be sharing that with the public because it is important to have that information out there. So tying this back into data centers, we know that there's technology available to have the reclaimed water for data centers is not going to impact that, but having that reservoir for RSA when there's a drought and the river water level's low is very vital. And again, yes, I will submit that budget amendment again this coming year.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Mr. Miller.
Thank you. So one thing I want to kind of show you where I'm coming from when I address this answer is I found a lot of success and I utilize on one of my major core competencies when I was in the military in leadership is lead with a sense of empathy. And I approach every problem-solving issue out there that you have to find solutions for with that. Put yourself in somebody else's shoes. So what is it like to be without water? What's it like to come home after work and you get a bowl notice? So that's the kind of stuff that I think about that motivates me to tackle this challenge that's out there. So yes, I would be in favor of adding that to the budget, taking a look at adding that reservoir that's needed. Also, I'd take a look at why is it taking so long for some of these service authorities out here to come up with solutions to the problems that they've been called out on. And I want to let that sit for a minute because that's the kind of stuff. These people, if they don't have buy-in, if they don't have that sense of empathy, if they're not coming home at night after work and they're worried about water, then what's going on? That's not leadership to me. And I want to bring that sense of leadership to the table in Richmond and get after it from a personal nature because I wouldn't want to come home with a bowl notice or my faucets aren't working. So another thing I'm really excited about is this can take a total comprehensive approach. That's what we did in the military. You kind of look at all angles to solve a problem. One thing I'm really excited about, it's happening in Loudoun County right now, is the agrivoltaics. It's a very hard word to say. So it is a agricultural land that's developed, the produce is developed with solar panels that ride over top of it. A lot of the studies that are happening right now, it requires much less water to grow crops underneath the solar panel. And it's a mutual beneficial relationship. Solar panels don't perform well when they're over 75 degrees in temperature. So a day about 80, 90, you're getting very less efficiency out of a solar panel. Because you're growing crops underneath, there's evaporative cooling that is hitting that backside of that solar panel. And the studies right now in Loudoun County, they're opening their first one here in the next, actually in a couple weeks. It's very, very promising. So looking at creative solutions that can be the answer to our water problems for the future, everything has to be on the table because some of the growth numbers I heard for our area, it's pretty substantial. Areas around Fredericksburg right now are estimated to increase by 1 million people by the year 2050. And we think we're a long way away from Fredericksburg right now. By 2050, I don't think we will be. So we have to address that infrastructure issue now. So we have to start planning for it now. So planning for the future, using creative solutions like that to get after conserving our water supply, developing more water supply. But that's the kind of stuff I want to bring to the table. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. All right. We're moving on to question number 3, and we'll let Mr. Miller start this one. Do you support legislation to allow each county to ask their constituents to vote for a 1% sales tax that could be used for the capital expenditures in schools?
Absolutely. So one of the 2 biggest concerns for Virginians right now is cost of living and protection of civil liberties. So let's address this first one. I don't want to raise anything when it comes to making ends meet as far as your paychecks and the bills you have to pay. But some of the conversations I've had with school board members, especially Spotsylvania and here in Orange, there are projects that have to happen that need to be a part of that growth statistic I just talked about. So yes, I would like to approve that to allow people to turn it on and turn it off. Localities can execute it and turn it off when needed to build a school. Because some of the Board of Supervisors meetings I've been in and school board, they say, well, why can't we just add on to an additional school? Well, you don't understand the growth expectations. The estimates are much bigger than that. You can't expand the size of a cafeteria very easily. You can't expand the size of a gym very easily. You need a new school. So a lot of the superintendents right now are focused on getting that land, and we have to have a mechanism that we can empower the folks at a local level to be able to execute when that land's available and build that school that's going to be needed in 10 years, 5 years. So yes, I do support that because I know Spotsylvania County right now, they have to build 2 schools. It's cut and dry. It has to happen. Orange County, they want to expand their CTE building, which I fully support. The Spotsylvania CTE building, the culinary arts class just won national awards. So that kind of stuff, that's the stuff we need to be promoting and need to be building out for our school-age children out there. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Scott.
Yeah, great question. Not necessarily a cut and dry one, although my answer is pretty cut and dry. I voted against this legislation in the past, and I will continue to do so. There's a lot of taxing authority that the locality already has. And I do not see the benefit of taxing our constituents more and more and more. In this year, it might be a 1%, then next year is going to be a 2%, and the next year, 3%. That's how legislation like this grows over time. And it's easier just to vote no right out the gate than to allow that. I want to roll back the clock 4 years. My first year in the General Assembly, this is still close to COVID, and the value of used cars was going up for the first time in history. And there was no mechanism to allow localities to lower the tax rate on personal vehicles and personal property tax because they were coupled with other tangible property. A local commissioner of revenue came to me and said, Delegate Scott, this is an issue. Can I have a few moments of your time? We talked about it. I was like, yeah, that is an issue. Holy cow. Like, yes, that's going to impact everybody. So we put in a piece of legislation, put an emergency clause on it. So as soon as it passed the General Assembly, it went to the governor to be signed. And what that piece of legislation did is it gave the localities the ability to lower the property tax rate for personal vehicles, separate of other tangible property. There were some localities that took advantage of that and some localities that didn't. And I believe it was Henrico County that did not do it. And then because of another piece of legislation that had been passed a few years prior that gave localities the ability to give a refund, there was enough pushback and the Board of Supervisors issued refunds. I say that to say this, again, the localities have a lot of different taxing ability to raise revenues for the localities. And I know that one of the big things that people are frustrated about when it comes to taxation is the personal property tax for their vehicle. They bought, they paid for, they paid their sales tax, they own it, and now they have to quote unquote lease it every single year from the local government. And I have stated, and I will state again, I look forward to the day where that tax is repealed and replaced. Now, you're like, wait a minute, Republican talking about replacing a tax. Yes, I'm not necessarily talking about dollar for dollar. We've run surplus in the state budget year after year for the past 4 years. How many of you got the check in the mail this past year, right? $200 or $400 rebate. There is money that can go back to the constituents, that can go back to the localities to make them whole if that tax is removed. Likewise, we do not need to give the locality the taxing authority. If there's a surplus at the state level, we can allocate money for those things that need to be done to make sure we're supporting our schools.
Thank you guys for being so diligent, looking there and realizing when your time is up, I don't have to say anything. It's great. I also think this is really cool. We keep segueing into the next question. So the next question is, should property owners in District 63 have any limits on the sale or development of their property? Since we're talking about property tax, there's another property question. And I think, did you go first this last one?
I did go
I think so. So you get to go first this time.
What a wonderfully complicated question. It seems pretty straightforward on the surface. How many of you are in a property owners association right now? Raise your hand. Okay. That's where a group of people come together and they agree to certain rules and regulations on how their property is going to be maintained. It's that local collective that determines those things. I've heard some people say that property owner associations are unconstitutional, but when people come together and they agree to something that I believe is the rights of those homeowners that establish those covenants, and then when you buy into that property owner association, you're agreeing to abide by those rules and regulations. I live in a property owner association. It's got some pretty strict requirements, and we're the front house of the subdivision. So we're the one that everybody sees. So people are like, are you going to rake your leaves anytime soon? Like they just started falling. So there's that cooperative. And then at the state level and at the local level, there's also other things that need to be taken into consideration. And you're gonna be like, wait, Delegate Scott, I thought you were a very limited government, freedom. People do what they want to do. So as long as it does not cause harm on others. If you're on a 1/4 acre lot, there's certain things that logically do not make sense for you to do on a 1/4 acre lot that I might be able to do on a 5 acre lot. I don't have a 5 acre lot, but if I did, there would be certain things that I could do on a 5 acre lot safely that you can't do on a 1/4 acre lot. And so I think that's where government has the flexibility to come in and say, you got a 1/4 acre lot, having 6 horses on that lot, probably not the best thing to do, right? Or having a cow in your front yard, probably not the best thing to do. Or you have a septic field, you cannot put a basketball court in your front yard over that septic field because that's a health issue concern, because that basketball court concrete could crush the septic field, then we got a bigger problem. And so local government and state government, we have an obligation to ensure that people are safe personally, individually, and that what we're doing is safe for our neighbors and our friends. This is why we have certain laws on the books about size acres that you have to have in order to use a firearm on your property. Because here in the lake, you can't do that on your property in a safe manner. But out in rural parts of Orange or Spotsylvania, you can do that in a safe manner. And my time's up. I was going to say more, but.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Mr. Miller.
Yeah, thank you. So this addresses this speaks right to an issue that's hitting near and dear, and it keeps coming up when I'm knocking doors and talking to a lot of constituents out there. To set the stage for my answer, I'd like to talk about how me believing that we the people means all the people. I believe government is there to provide that framework that can help us all achieve success. I believe that framework looks like a ladder. There's a lot of folks out there that need help, and they can climb that ladder, but it's the government's job to really kind of build those rungs on that ladder. So leaving that as an image, some of the things I'd like to talk about is some of the bills I would like to support. House Bill 1398, right of first refusal. So when somebody goes to sell a house, if public funding was used to make it, then the local municipalities, local board of supervisors, they should be given planning commission should be given the right to take that house off the market before it hits the private market. Because right now, we currently have a shortage of affordable housing for low-income families, about 200,000 units across the Commonwealth right now. I spoke to somebody that says they're working full-time and they are sleeping in their truck with their children, their 2 children right now, going to Spotsy schools. So where do they go? That's the kind of stuff that we need to help folks out with. Help them achieve that first step, that rung on that ladder, get them into a dwelling unit that is good for their family situation, and help get them on a path to climb further on that ladder. I believe that's our job, to help people at every level achieve that stuff. So when it comes to being able to sell your property, I think that's one of the pieces that goes into it. Another one is with those growth numbers we've spoke about before, I believe House Bill 1313 is very, very interesting. So it would allow local municipalities, local board of supervisors, planning commissions to be able to rezone quicker, cutting the red tape, cutting the steps that they need to do to build different density dwelling units. Those million people outside Fredericksburg by 2050 are coming, and we don't need them filling up our battlefields, filling up our agricultural land with single family homes that developers are more than eager to build. I think we're seeing it across our district. So my vision would be to enable folks to live by 95 closer to that Fredericksburg area that they're moving to in higher density dwelling units. We need to cut the red tape so they can start building those, increase the inventory, prices come down, folks get the unit that they need. And I think that's the key to success. And that will actually help us out as far as all the rungs on that ladder. It'll help us drive land value that folks are coming down here to support us and buy our properties, which right now, I don't know if anybody's taken a look at the market recently. There's a lot more stuff on the market than I've seen in a long, long time. And I think there's a lot of options that go into that, but a lot of reasons. But that's my thoughts on the matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. All right, we're going to do, no, you already just spoke, right? On that one. Yeah. That's okay. My boss here is, yeah. We have one last question. And the question is, there is an expectation that there will be a referendum on abortion in next year's House of Delegates, and wanted to know what is your opinion on this? And we'll start with Mr. Miller.
Yeah, thank you. So I'd like to frame this conversation a little bit where I think we can all agree this is definitely an emotional topic for all of us, especially for myself, and we'll get to that in a minute. One thing that we need to keep in mind is, what is government's role in this conversation? It's not our personal role. What is government's role in this conversation? So I do believe that politics, anything in Richmond, any level of government, needs to stay out of our doctor's offices. Because I was a leader in the military, and I experienced situations where troops had issues with their pregnancies, and they had to go in and make a very, very difficult choice. So knowing that, seeing how it affected them for years down the road, I still know these women, and they still deal with this. It's not an easy decision for anybody to make, and I sure as heck don't want the government making it for them. So I will be supporting the amendment to bring the Freedom of Reproductive Amendment to the ballot box for next year. So I will be supporting that in General Assembly.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Mr. Scott.
We need to make sure that we're defining terms correctly. And as Mr. Miller pointed out, this is a very emotional topic for a lot of individuals, those who have walked the path, made the decision, dealing with the aftermath of that. Reproductive freedom and abortion are two different things, okay? Reproductive freedom happens, and then reproduction happens, and then there's a life. Various stages of life, but it's a life. One of the biggest issues that I have a lot of issues with that amendment. One of the biggest concerns that I have is, right now, if a minor gets an abortion, parents must be notified. The way the language of that amendment is written is that there is no allowance. It says that the state shall not create any laws restricting anyone's access to an abortion. That means a minor who has been sex trafficked or raped can be taken to an abortionist by their rapist, their sex trafficker, and get an abortion without the parents knowing. Right now, we've had an issue in Fairfax where the state police have gotten involved because the social workers took minor children to get abortions without notifying their parents. It wasn't the act of getting the abortion. It wasn't the act of the school money being used for it, but the law that was broken where parents were not notified. And this constitutional amendment would totally nullify the parental notification law that is on the books right now. They tried to deny that, the patron tried to deny that, and we asked counsel, what would happen if this was challenged in court? And legal counsel at the General Assembly said Constitution would prevail and the parental notification law would be thrown out. So whether you believe that it's the right of the individual to have access to that, whether you believe there's some sort of limitation that should be there, or if you are totally against abortion and you believe that all life is valuable, I think we all can agree that eliminating parental notification is a bad unintended consequence of this legislation. We can't change the legislation anymore. It already passed, and it has to pass in the same form that it passed last year. And so I will continue to vote against this legislation on the Privileges and Elections Committee, because we need to make sure that we are empowering parents with their children's healthcare decisions when the minor children are involved. Parents are the best situated to provide the emotional support, the care that is needed. I carried a piece of legislation this past year to bring state hospitals onto the same page as private hospitals. Right now, private hospitals have to allow parents access to the minor child's medical records. State hospitals such as UVA do not have that same requirement. We carried legislation to put the state hospitals on the same playing field of requiring them to allow parents access to the minor's medical records. I had a constituent whose, I think, son broke an arm or a leg and they couldn't get access. Another one whose child had a mental handicap and they couldn't get access to their child's healthcare records. So we need to make sure we're putting parents in the driver's seat and making sure that parents are there to support their children when they need the support the most. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. This is the end of this section, so perhaps we could give a short round of applause to our two candidates. All right, I'll give everyone 10 seconds to stretch your legs if you need.
Oh, those are arguments.
Awesome arguments. It's not a debate, but
Okay. So if you are all willing, we will start again. Now we will go to the Orange County Board of Supervisors. And we'll do the same thing. We'll let the person who's closest to me start first. So Ms. Hale, if you've got 5 minutes to make whatever type of introduction you'd like.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Crystal Hale. I am the incumbent for Orange County Board of Supervisors, District 4. I want to thank Lake of the Woods Association, the External Affairs Committee, for allowing us this opportunity this evening. Always remind my colleague, Mr. Brian Nickel, that he doesn't have all of Lake of the Woods. I have a little pocket back here in this area, actually, as District 4 does share with District 5, but Mr. Nickel and I get along really well, so it's been a great opportunity to work with him. I've lived in Orange County my entire life for, I hate to say it, but almost 49 years now. And I've lived in the same little area of District 4, right there on West Virginia Avenue, where I still reside today. And I love it there. I've raised my children there. I still have an adult daughter there, all my pets and my livestock. And it has really helped shape me, that little piece of Orange County and on West Virginia Avenue. For more than 3 decades, I've dedicated my professional life to public service. Many of you may be familiar with me as Director of Social Services in Orange County. I'm no longer there, but I served there for 7 years, serving our at-risk youth and families that were in need, and all of our vulnerable citizens, to include our aging population. Through that, I got to learn a lot about the inner workings of Orange County and our Orange County government, stakeholders, and the community that I thought I knew so well that I became even more familiar with. And then about 2 years ago, I was appointed as the interim Orange County Supervisor for District 4 when that seat was vacated. And then I was elected that November. So I have served a full 2 years on the Board of Supervisors, working very hard and getting a lot done in that very little bit of time. And I can honestly say that I've loved every minute of it. The campaigning part's a little tough. It gets a little edgy sometimes, but the job is wonderful. And as you can see through my career, and if any of you are familiar with my resume, I've served on numerous committees for this county and this community. I've made a list of them so that I wouldn't forget, but I'll probably still leave some of those off unintentionally. But I have served on the Orange County Planning Commission, the Community Policy Management Team, the Juvenile Court Advisory Team. I serve on the Board of Directors for Aging Together, which serves our aging population here. I serve on I'm a commissioner on the Rappahannock-Rapidan Regional Commission, and I am also on the Board of Directors for Encompass Community Supports, also previously known as the CSB. I've accomplished a lot in 2 years, to include tackling water and sewer infrastructure issues that have been kicked down the curb for about 20 years. That doesn't get resolved in 2 years, but we've made great progress. I also fought staunchly against utility scale solar companies that wanted to come in on District 4 prime ag land, successfully got them out of here. I also was able to work with the rest of the board to find a path forward for that CTE facility that constituents wanted so badly during my last campaign. I found a way to get increased teacher salaries and a path forward for the Sheriff's Department to get more deputies. All of this without raising our general tax fund, tax rate for our general fund. We did raise the tax rate just this year minimally for the fire and EMS levy to ensure that we tackled big issues that were concerning for our fire and EMS folks as we were losing them at alarming rates. And we needed to do something to improve those salaries. That's just a little bit about what I've done. I'm a leader. I'm a positive, kind leader that believes in tackling issues through building relationships, not battering or beating anyone down, calling ugly names, or making inferences about someone's looks. But I just hope that if you don't know that about me, now you do. And feel free to reach out to me, my personal cell phone, my email, all of that information is out there for the public. And I love talking to my constituents and addressing their concerns. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hale. Mr. Rabe.
Good afternoon, friends and neighbors. Again, my name is Robert Rabe. I'm running to represent District 4 here in Orange County for the Board of Supervisors. A little bit about myself. I'm a retired police sergeant, a state-level program manager with the Department of Transportation, and the owner of Rita's Italian Ice here at the Locust Grove Town Center, right here in the heart of District 4. I'm also a husband, a father of 6, and a proud Orange County resident. I'm running because our community deserves leadership that is accountable, action-driven, and rooted in real-world experience. Let me be honest with you. I'm not a career politician. I'm just like you all. But I run a business, and I know what it means to manage money, serve people, and make those tough calls. As a small business owner, I've balanced budgets, I've met payroll, and I've listened to customers every day. I know firsthand what it's like to deal with red tape, rising costs, and government decisions that don't always make sense for working families or entrepreneurs. And I bring that same practical common mindset to this race. One of the biggest issues that we're facing here in District 4 is the water and sewer infrastructure and the mismanagement by the Rapid Dance Service Authority, or the RSA. Most of us lived that last year for 11 days. That was terrible. I never want to live through that again. Residents have long endured boil notices, service failures, and zero transparency, while our current leadership has shrugged that off. That stops today. When I'm elected, I will serve on that RSA board as your representative, and I will go there to demand real reform. I want to look at those performance audits, want to make sure we're getting our competitive bidding, want to make sure we have some citizen oversight. We need some transparency. No buts. We need real funding to fix our aging infrastructure. That's why I'll support the responsible use of bonds to finance long-term water and sewer upgrades without overburdening our annual budgets or our taxpayers. We cannot keep kicking this can down the road, period. Water is a public safety issue, and we need to treat it like one with urgency, planning, and real investment. Public safety is another top priority. As a retired police sergeant, I've seen what works and what doesn't work when it comes to fighting crime. We need to fully support our sheriff's office. By doing so, improving our patrol coverage, address the rise in drug use that's in our school system, and we need to start finding a way to hold these repeat offenders accountable. I'll expand the neighborhood watch programs, increase the school resource officer presence within our county schools. And by oh God, we need to have a dashboard so we can see what's going on. And I want to make sure that we do that so we stay informed and our law enforcement stays supported. We must stop the wasteful spending. And I can tell you firsthand, as a business owner, I don't have the luxury of wasting money, and neither do you all, and neither should local government. I bring business-minded approach to county spending. One of my plans is to conduct a full review of the programs, implementing performance-based budgeting, and prioritizing these core services like our public safety, infrastructure, education, and not bloating these projects or pet programs. Keeping our property taxes low. It doesn't mean doing less, it means doing better than what we have. Economic growth is important, but we have to be smart here in the county. I support policies that help support small and medium-sized businesses thrive. Want to make sure we cut the red tape, streamline the permitting down here at the county permitting office, and preserve our rural character along the way. We need to be a county where businesses want to come or residents want to stay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, so everyone, I only have 2 questions here for these candidates. So while they were introducing themselves, if they said something that made you think, I wonder, run over there and write your question down. Otherwise, we're going to do these 2 questions and we'll move on. Look at, she had an aha moment. All right, question number 1. And since Ms. Hale, you started, we'll start with you, Ms. Rabe. DEQ is considering an application to allow the spreading of biosolids, which likely contain forever chemicals like PFAS, PFAS is what people call them, that have been shown to cause health problems. Are you willing to oppose this permit?
I'll give you one answer. Yes, I will oppose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ms. Hale.
I would first like to state that this is a very important question. And I have recently been in communication with folks who are much more informed on this subject than myself, and have learned that the application of these chemicals to our local lands is not only very concerning, but is very dangerous. And we're talking about certain chemicals that sometimes have been found in applications of biosolids used by our local farmers. And some of those, not that all of our local farmers are using them, but some have been using them because they are a discounted rate of fertilizer. It helps our local farmers make more financial sense out of applicating fertilizer to the land, for lack of a better term. But what we need to do is educate folks in that this isn't the only way to apply fertilizers to your land at a lesser cost. I also learned throughout this, learning about this information, I found out that Orange County currently has the highest rate of ovarian cancer, and it can be potentially directly linked to the application of these chemicals. With that said, and as someone who has the genetic mutation that makes me more susceptible to ovarian and breast cancer, this is very concerning. So I would absolutely vote against this. I don't know if you said vote in favor of or against, but against the applications of these to our lands, while keeping in mind that I come from a farming family and there is an impact, a potential impact to our agricultural community. But I do feel that there are other ways, and that we do not have to put these dangerous chemicals that can affect all of us. So absolutely against those.
Thank you very much. Okay, next question, but I think you guys aren't off the hook just after this question. There might be more coming. If the wilderness crossing lawsuit is successful, the rezoning issue will likely come back to the Board of Supervisors. What is your position on this proposed development? We'll start with you, Ms. Hale.
So during my first campaign 2 years ago, I had the luxury of letting folks know that I did not think in 2 years this topic would come out of litigation. I do not think I have that luxury anymore, because we are getting closer to trial. We're getting closer to having a final ruling of this. And I absolutely think this will come back before the Board of Supervisors within the next 4 years. And I will say confidently that while we in this area are under the GWAP plan and focused on, which focuses growth in this area along the Route 3 corridor so that we can keep the rest of the county rural, that doesn't mean we have to accept every development application or every proposal that comes along our way. This would give us, if wilderness crossing is denied through litigation, and if it is then brought back to the Board of Supervisors, we have an exciting opportunity to have another bite at this project. And we can look at it and make recommendations, make changes, and or deny if it doesn't meet the needs of our local community and if it is not good for this community. So yes, I think it will come back before us, and I think it will be an exciting time to see what we can do to make it better or to keep it out if it's not going to change.
Thank you, Ms. Hale. Mr. Rabe.
Ask me that question one more time again. Can you repeat it?
Sure. If the wilderness crossing lawsuit is successful, the rezoning issue will likely come back to the Board of Supervisors. What is your position on this proposed development?
You know, the Wilderness Crossing expansion, it is it's an interesting standpoint from the GWAP plan. You know, when the original plan came, there was some thoughtfulness, the way it was crafted. But I believe that now that the plan is over a decade, it's really trying to look at it and think about some of the revisions that need to be made. And this would be the perfect time for the Board of Supervisors to come together, look at what's going on back there in the in the Wilderness Crossing Plan, determine if the soil back there is even able to be looked at, right? Because we all know that there's some issues back there regarding the mercury, the arsenic, whether that's going to be even something that we can even move forward on. I think there's a lot of things that have to come first before we really make those decisions. We need to get DEQ in there to make sure that that land is even viable. But really, before we move forward with any of that stuff back there, we really need to get the infrastructure in place. Just thinking about it, you know, we don't have enough now for Lake of the Woods, Somerset, and Wilderness Shores when it just comes to water. I think those things need to come first before we really look at this Germanna Wilderness Plan, the expansion Wilderness Crossing. Let's look at these things first. Let's make sure we can get those things online, ready to move forward before we even go down this road with the Germanna, with the Wilderness Expansion Plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm having a senior moment. Ms. Hale, you've already answered that question?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Boss said we're even. Okay. I'm trying to decide which one segues better into this. Since we were just talking about, or you just mentioned water, and we have had water crises, what have you done or what will you do to help with the water crisis, the one we've had or potential ones in the future? And we'll start with you, Mr. Rabe.
Well, the water crisis, I mean, it really boils down to this. We're already at capacity based on the 2025 projections with the GWAP plan. And I'll give you somewhat of a context. You know, there was a study done in 2021 just alone for what a reservoir would cost in California, and that exceeded probably over $500 million. And there was a 14-year commitment with that. So what I see today, you know, we really need to get really in gear when it comes to moving this forward and correcting the problems. You know, there's some funding options available. Obviously, there's two things that I would oppose, which would be RSA, rising rates for RSA end users, or raising any kind of rates for the county-wide through increased property tax assessments. But one thing that I would want to move forward to is the Virginia Resources Authority offers a lot of funding and bond securement through the Clean Water Revolving Fund. And that's something that I would want to do as the Board of Supervisor, is go to those funds and see what kind of bond raising we can do through that. I think that would be the way to go to fix some of these problems. Obviously, you can do proffers up front through service fees charged to the developers up front, but I would try to focus on those Virginia Pooled Finance programs, programs that are available to bring some of those resources in when it comes to those funds to fix the problem we have today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Hale.
Well, I'll start with what I have done. And I will say I called for a town hall meeting with RSA before the water crisis. The Board of Supervisors entertained that. We worked together to have a town hall with RSA. During the water crisis, I was out there, boots on the ground, handing out water and delivering water to different communities. I was at Locust Grove Middle School for numerous days handing out water. Our little community back here, Twin Lakes Villas, I was afraid that they might have gotten forgotten. So when a load of water came in from McDonald's, I made sure it was delivered over there. I was actively engaged here at Lake of the Woods and in surrounding areas to make sure that folks had some support. I was actively engaged on conference calls with DEQ, VDM, it was numerous agencies, VDH, our fire and EMS. So I was actively engaged in that whole process. So I remember it well. During my tenure, I have I have noticed that RSA, while there's still a lot of work to be done, they have made some improvements. We are not at capacity, actually. That's misinformation. RSA has recently increased capacity by 50%, which if development were to appropriately come in and be approved in an appropriate place, we could use activation fees to help pay for more water and for a water reservoir. We could potentially use industry, bring industry in that could help us with our water. And there's some exciting new opportunities out there. And we need a few things. We need land, we need money, and we need a vision, okay? And it doesn't happen without money, and it doesn't happen without partnerships. So to say, I'm not going to raise taxes, but I'm going to get a $50 million water reservoir doesn't equate. You can't not charge and have these things unless you're developing partnerships with others and relationships and finding creative ways to make it happen. I also called a meeting with Phillip Scott and Senator Reeves' office, and Supervisor Nickel joined me. I'm not on the RSA board, but I have been proactive in calling together meetings, and that particular meeting was to try to get a bite at the $27 million grant, and we had some great conversations. I am on a water committee, as is Mr. Nickel, and I think I'm in the alternate for the Regional Water Supply Committee. So I am actively engaged in this, and I think, again, 2 years, you can't get it done. It's going to take a lot of time and a lot of creative work and a lot of building relationships. And I do not want to charge the citizens of Orange County this huge price tag for this.
Thank you, Ms. Hale. This question is super related to what you guys just answered. So I will ask the question just because I want the people who wrote out questions to feel like I didn't ignore them. But if you feel like you've already answered it, just say so. If there's anything you want to add, please do so. If you are elected for another term or a new term, will you support a rate reduction for RSA or another way to lower the water bills? And we'll start with you, Ms. Hale.
So again, I'm not on the RSA board, but I would support anything that would help ease the impact to our citizens without lessening the services. And you can't just do that just across the board, lessen the rates. Those rates, the increase in rates were currently put into place to serve needs that weren't being served. It's an unfortunate way that it was done, that it had to be done that way, but we have to come up with ways to meet those needs, or who pays for it. I mean, we have a RSA board with board members from the Orange County Board of Supervisors that help make sure that happen. And, they're also looking out for their districts. So I think if we have to look at it from a whole equality standpoint, we have to find ways to get grants. We have to find ways to get further funding, partnerships, and have the resources built so that we can lessen those. But that's not just something that if somebody says, I'm going to get elected and I'm going to lessen those rates, then you should scratch your head and ask how, because it's just like your household budget. The check's got to come from somewhere. Okay. And so I would support anything that helps us get to where we need to be without additional impact on those that are already lifting the heavy weight.
Thank you, Mr. Rabe.
I would just go back to that Virginia pooled finance about bringing in the bonds again. That's a tough one. Everybody here would like their rates to be lowered, right? We would all agree with that. Heck, I want my rates lowered every day. But I think we have to look at it long term. If we're lowering rates today, what is that going to do the next time something goes wrong with that system? And then what happens if something goes wrong with that system and now your rates are going drastically up than before you were paying? So those are things I want people to think in the back of their minds. Again, raising the money through the bonds, finding other ways to increase the revenue for RSA is the only way you can do it. But I'll be the first to tell you, I don't think we can lower the rates at RSA right now. just based on the condition the system's in, the lack of the stuff that's going on now, the fact that we just went through last year, I don't see it happening. But if I could lower the rates, absolutely I would.
Thank you, sir. All right, we have one last question. As many of you may know, the Orange County Planning Commission and the Orange County Board of Supervisors are looking at our zoning ordinances. So this question is, do you support rezoning agricultural land to restrict by right sales? And we'll start with you, Mr. Rabe.
You know, the way I look at the buy right situation is, you know, these are people's properties. They worked for so long to keep their properties. There's a piece of this that you do not want the county to grow in the continuance of subdividing. But at the same time, you want to respect the fact that people have purchased these properties, they've owned them for all this time. When it comes to the rezoning, I'm not in support of it. I continue to stand by that it is your property, and you're going to make the decisions that you're going to make.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Hale.
I have been actively involved in this process for, I've lost track now, for probably close to a year when we first started talking about new districts. The Board of Supervisors has recently successfully completed work sessions for 2 new districts, which are our rural service districts and our technology districts. And those are voluntary districts that will be serve as tools in the toolbox, so to speak, as our Chairman Johnson likes to call them, in that if someone wants to apply for those districts, then they can. We do see that as a major step forward, especially for our technology district. And we are now starting to focus on the ag districts. For those that aren't very well informed on this subject, I will say what this means is that the Board of Supervisors will be making decisions on how much property is allowable to divide. So if you own, or if you have owned a farm of say 200 acres for generations, and say that might be your retirement fund, so to speak, which is the case for a lot of our local farmers who have helped to keep Orange County rural, they might dip into that and sell 2 or 3 acres so that they can keep the rest of the farm going. Currently, we have not gotten to the weeds on this, but the current sort of feel is the number that's been thrown around is 20 acres. So therefore, a farmer who has farmed his or her whole life on 200 acres now would not have the right to sell less than a 20-acre lot, meaning they don't get to farm as much if they have to dip into the retirement fund that they've worked their whole lives for. That's just an example of the direction this is going. I'm not in agreement with that. I do think we have to have measures to slow growth, but I also think that we need to be reasonable about it. And I really, really have to question my opponent because some of his largest supporters are pushing for the 20-acre division. So to say that that's not right, I'm very confused. I will tell you flat out, nobody supporting me is in favor of that. And I do want to find common ground, but I do not want it to be on the backs of the people who have made this county rural and special. It doesn't save farmland. It cuts it up in bigger chunks, and you can't farm 20 acres. You can't do anything. It's hard to even mow the grass on 20 acres. So we need to find a reasonable way to slow growth without burdening those who have done such an excellent job of having this beautiful county that we love so dearly.
Thank you. By the way, I have half an acre if someone wants to come mow it. Okay. That is it for the questions for the Board of Supervisor candidates. So if we could have a round of applause for them. Thank you very, very much. And given the time, I suggest we just keep on going if that's all right with you all. All right. So we are moving now to the school board. And I will continue with the same thing. Mr. Martin, I'll let you give your presentation first, max 5 minutes. Please tell us why you're running.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And thank you all so much for being here. And thank you to the Lake of the Woods External Affairs Committee for hosting this amazing event. Well, if I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you yet, my name is O'Brien Martin, and I'm running to be your next Orange County District 4 School Board representative. However, tonight, I'm not just here as a candidate asking for your vote, but I'm here as a proud product of Orange County Public Schools, as living proof of what our school district is capable of, and I believe what it must be capable of for every single student moving forward. I was raised right here in Orange County, a proud Orange County native. From my first day of kindergarten at Orange Elementary School to my last day at graduation at Orange County High School, this community has shaped every piece of who I am. I still remember so many of the teachers in the school system that honestly believed in me even before I believed in myself. My mother is a former Orange County teacher and allowed me to understand early on that there will always be a difference between a teacher and an Orange County teacher. Orange County teachers inspire futures. They educate the next generation, and they empower the best asset that we have in this community, our kids. My father, he served as a federal police officer, even inspiring me to serve alongside law enforcement immediately when I could at the age of 18. At the town of Culpeper Police Department and at Virginia Tech Police Department, my entire life has been shaped around service, serving others, and ensuring that we can do everything we can to build someone else up. In my family of service, I learned the values of discipline, hard work, and earning every single opportunity. So I always like to tell the story of when I was 16, I became the youngest store manager at Food Lion. My first hires were Orange County high schoolers. I say that because I saw their potential, and they just needed someone to be willing to invest in them. That's when I learned a lesson that stayed with me to this day, that leadership is about investing in others and building people up. So that's why I founded the first ever Orange County School Board student representative position, because I believed then, as I do now, that students deserve a voice in decisions that shape their futures. So then at 18 years old, I took the entrepreneurial skills that I learned in an Orange County classroom, an Orange County CTE classroom to be exact, to found my own small business, Phantom Field Attractions. What started as just a dream and honestly a class project to bring high value entertainment to Orange County ultimately turned into something greater. It turned into something that turned jobs for local students, profits reinvested back into our school district, and thousands of visitors brought into our community. That dream has now grown into the largest haunted attraction in all of Central Virginia. Now today, Phantom Field is now owned as part of a larger company that I own, the Premier Media and Entertainment Company, which is actually debuting Phantom Fest. You all might have seen it right there in front of Orange County High School. We're constructing the largest ever and first ever haunted amusement park right here in Orange County. Now again, I'm proud to announce, and keeping in tradition, that the vast majority of our students are from right here in Orange County. Again, investing in the same students, the same community that's invested in me. A portion of our profits will go right back into Orange County Public Schools and Orange County CTE efforts. Orange County High School Delegate, to be specific, which holds a special place in my heart. It holds a special place in my heart because following graduation, I was able to make history as serving as the first ever Black man to serve as Delegate International Executive President, a 300,000 member CTE organization that has real impact right here in Orange County. At that time, I was not just holding a title, I was representing 300,000 students across 9 countries. I removed barriers to entry that also increased access to our organization like never before. Membership jumped 67%. We've restored the CTE program and the nonprofit to our strongest position in a decade. I ensured that we were setting up our 300,000 students and over 1 million alumni across the world up for success. We partnered with educators across the nation to ensure that our curriculum ensured that we were putting students first and that they were competitive in everything that they needed to. That continued when I attended Virginia Tech as a vice president for strategic affairs. I partnered with University President Tim Sands, and we created policy like this one I'm very proud of. We unleashed an initiative that actually serves underserved populations like right here in Orange County. The Virginia Tech Advantage is an initiative that expands access to higher education like never before, a $500 million investment to your kids so they can go and receive a world-class education. So long story short, I know what success looks like. I may be young, but when it comes to empowering the next generation, I'm seasoned. I've lived it, I've led it, and I've delivered. So all in all, Orange County, I look forward to having a larger conversation with you today, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Ms. Whittington.
Hi, my name is Tina Whittington, and I am a resident here. I live over in Wilderness Shores, and I have 4 children. All 4 of my children actually went through Orange County Public Schools. Before they went through Orange County Public Schools, though, I actually homeschooled. So I was a homeschool mom, and I had to choose my curriculum. I taught 3 children in a 1-room classroom. So I have experience as a teacher in the sense of I homeschooled and I had to choose curriculum and deal with my own disciplinary issues and creating my own daily plans. And I also run a nonprofit. So I've been working in the nonprofit industry for 15 years. I grew our organization from 11 people to almost 100. We had just under a $2 million budget. Now I currently manage a $20 million budget. I know what it means to hire, to fire. I know how to choose insurance. I know how to look at what are the policies and risks involved with an organization and how do you create the policies to reduce risk? How do you get insured to reduce risk? I also experienced what a lot of parents do here in this kind of little corner of Orange County. We were a 2-income family. My husband lost his job in 2010, so I had to go back to work, and that's when our kids entered into the public schools. And as a 2-income family, it's a lot about getting home, after school activities, homework, making dinner, getting kids to bed, rinse, repeat, day, you know? And so I didn't have an opportunity to go to the school board meetings and participate. I had to vote someone in who could be my voice. And that's what I'm asking for you all. My youngest is now 19 and she's away in school. And so I feel like I have an opportunity now to be your voice. I know what's going on here. I know a lot of you are frustrated by how long the bus ride is to get all the way out to Orange County High School. I understand that long distance and how hard it is as your kids age and get further and further away, all the way out to the high school, to stay involved. So I also really am for parents' rights. We need to know what's going on. We need to know what the curriculum is. We need to be able to opt our children in or out of things. A lot of us don't know what's going on in after-school programs, what the curriculum is and what's going on. And so I really want our parents to know what's going on and be able to have a voice in that because we want our parents to be parents and be empowered to be parents of their children. They should be in the driver's seat of their kids' education and experience in the Orange County Public Schools. Also, I believe in academic excellence over political agendas. I know there's been a lot done to get political agendas out of schools, but I want to make sure that continues to happen. I don't know if you all know, and it was mentioned earlier about in Fairfax County, the school system helped bring some students to get abortions. The parents didn't know it's being investigated. We don't know, the schools might have even helped pay for those abortions. The parents didn't know. We need to make sure that on every decision with a child, whether it's mental health, physical health, the parents are in the driver's seat and know what's going on. But we need to focus on that academic excellence because every child, it doesn't matter where they come from, their socioeconomic background, we need to make the best runway possible for Orange County students so that they can go on to college, they can go on to a career, they can excel and succeed where they want to. And that's what I want to do. I want to bring all my experience working on a board. I'm also the board chair of Charitable Allies, which is a legal organization that represents nonprofits and churches. And I serve on that board. So I serve a board as running a nonprofit. So I answer to a board. I know what that means. I'm also the chairman of a board, and I've been doing that for the last 4 years. And I understand what it means to be a board member and contribute and ask the hard questions and look at the budget and policies and make sure that everything is in place for the success of that organization. And I really want to bring all that experience to you and be the voice of this little teeny tiny corner of Orange County that feels so far away from some of the stuff that's going on. And I hope you guys can trust me to be that voice and vote for me in November.
Thank you very much, ma'am. All right. Well, you said something that actually segues into my very first question, and I'll let you start with the answer. Should parents be able to choose curricula, materials, or library books? If so, how? For example, the majority or the most restrictive parents?
Yeah, so there's already criterion for what we can have in the library. So that is already sort of a done decision. It's just a matter of sometimes things slip through. So they've looked through lists, they've done a lot of due diligence in the libraries to make sure that the appropriate educational books are there. Again, sometimes things slip through, but it would take someone reporting that up. So, but for curriculum, I think when it comes to curriculum of a certain nature, sex education programs where maybe you have a seriously held conviction or religious conviction, I do think parents need to know what's going on and be able to opt their child out of things that they don't agree with. That's why I also said, I think in some of these after-school activities and clubs, sometimes we don't know what's going on. I had 4 children who participated in all kinds of different after-school activities. And I will tell you as a parent, I didn't always know what was going on until much later. And there were things that were happening that I wish I would have known in advance so that I could have opted my children out of.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Yes, no, I definitely appreciate the question. Throughout this entire campaign trail, I've been able to knock on the doors of voters in District 4 and speak with teachers and educators across District 4. And I believe the answer to this is simple. We need to ensure that we're having a collaborative leadership approach across our school district. We need to understand that parents have to be in the driver's seat of their child's education, and that every single decision should be made with the parent involved, but also be made in the intersection with parents, teachers, and with students at the center. I do believe in that parents need to be empowered to be able to take control of their students' education. I also do believe that we need to ensure that we're allowing our educators to also be able to do what they do and educate the next generation. We have to understand the curriculum that we're setting our students up for success with will ultimately allow them to be the most competitive out in the workforce or when they go to college. I personally am the only person that's been able to reap the benefits of an Orange County curriculum. I am the only person here that has a diploma from Orange County Public Schools. And so then I understand the value that our diploma holds and where it falls short. And I believe that perspective is completely integral and invaluable to a school board when we're talking about how curriculum can be shaped to empower the next generation. So to answer your question, yes, parents need to be empowered to control and be in the driver's seat of their children's education. And I believe also a great partner in that are the educators and the teachers in our school systems.
Thank you, sir. Okay. The next question. 95% of the school divisions in Virginia are members of the Virginia School Boards Association. Would you support Orange County rejoining the VSBA? Why or why not? And we'll start with you, Mr. Martin.
Throughout this entire campaign, I've been extremely clear that I believe one of the biggest reasons why I'm running today is to ensure that we can turn the page on divisive politics throughout. That one foundation has allowed me to earn the support of the Orange County Education Association, an organization banded together by the Orange County teachers that educate your students on a day-to-day basis. And speaking with teachers and speaking with parents and speaking with school board members, we have to understand that we need to ensure that our school district is not at risk of liability. We have to understand that we need to ensure that we have all the necessary resources and coverage and liability and risk protections to ensure we're making the best decisions for schools, for teachers, and for parents. And so then if VSBA is not the option, I'm not saying it is, I do believe we need to have a collaborative approach to ensure that we are setting up for a program that does provide services that allow Orange County students, parents, and teachers to be protected. And when we make a decision that has to do with legal liability, that we have all of our bases covered.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Ms. Whittington.
Ever since I was able to get on the ballot, I've been to all the school board meetings and participated in them, listened to the conversations. And I will say the school board actually has an attorney that they work with on a regular basis. They call up, ask questions. He comes and consults and offers a lot of protection for them. A lot of the policies are also directed by the state. Our school board votes those policies in. I was there the day they had to talk about every single one and vote them in. There's a lot of thought that goes into everything they do, and there's already a lot of protections in place. Whether we go back to that organization or not, I'm not sure because I'm not on the board and I don't know all the background to the decision that was made to get away from it. But I will say what I have seen is that they already have a lot in place to protect the administration, to protect students, and to protect teachers.
Thank you. All right. Next question. How will you work to ensure school budgets are fully funded? And we'll start with you, Ms. Whittington.
Yep. So I'm probably going to bring an unpopular opinion. I do work for a nonprofit. We actually audit ourselves every year with an independent audit. And I have really enjoyed it. It's not fun. I don't know if anyone here has been audited before. It's really not fun, but I kind of get joy out of it because we find new things every year, ways that we could have better processes, ways that we could identify how to save money or how we could put money in different kinds of savings or different kinds of funds to make sure that our organization stays growing and supported. And so I would actually like to have our budget audited as a school board because I think there's a lot of things going on that we don't know about. I'm not on the board yet, so I can't tell you what those things are, but I would love to see an independent audit to point things out for us so that we can know, are we spending the money the best way we can? There's only so much we can do to grow the budget ourselves, and working closely with the Board of Supervisors is one way that we can make sure things are communicated. I've already talked to the Board of Supervisors, a few of them. I have crazy ideas. I want to grow Orange County. I want to bring a school down here to this District 4 area. I would love to see if we could start with a charter school. Orange County Public Schools can actually start charter schools. And there's ways I've seen it in private schools where they start small. They start with one grade and slowly build up to build an entire high school. I think there are creative ways that we can squeeze the budget and get as much juice out of the squeeze as we possibly can, but it's going to take some outside eyes to help us identify some of those areas. And it's going to be working closely with the Board of Supervisors to let them know what are the real needs, how can we move forward. And I love innovation, and I'm excited to bring a lot of innovation and ideas to especially District 4 for Orange County Public Schools.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Martin.
I appreciate the question. Dealing with budgets is a very active part of this role, and it's part of that leadership aspect. As I opened with, I had the pleasure of serving executive president for a large CTE organization with a big budget. And with that multi-million-dollar budget came a lot of responsibility. And like my opponent said, how we did that was through internal audits. And that was through audits ensuring every single year that we could ensure that our budget was where it needed to be. And going with that, I also do believe that my expertise in financial management, but also ensuring that we're maximizing every single investment tied to student outcomes needs to be a priority. We have to ensure that what is on our budget is directly tied to what we need to ensure for our students to be set up on day one. And as you all know, the Board of Supervisors are the funders. Right? The purse lies with the Board of Supervisors. And so ensuring that we have that well relationship with the Board of Supervisors through leveraging with the standing committees of the school board and the Board of Supervisors and enrichment is also a way to do just that. So we've had similar situations in the past, and I believe the answer is to ensure we're maximizing investment, ensuring we're held accountable, and also partnering with our families during school board meetings and public hearings, and with our partners on the Board of Supervisors of Capitol Hill to ensure that we're maximizing every investment.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. So keeping in line with money, the next question is, what strategies or ideas do you have to ensure schools have the capital necessary to maintain aging buildings? We'll start with you, Mr. Martin.
I believe that as we continue to grow as a school district, we are the 10th fastest growing community in the Commonwealth. And so then with that comes real responsibility. We have to understand, and I think that the school board is having the discussions that our facilities does need the necessary investment to ensure that we're meeting the demands of our children. We're doing that with CTE. right? Creating a priority on career technical education. And how do we do that with the building? We partnered with our board of supervisors to ensure it was within our budget and that they would fund it. And now that process is actually fully throughout, or fully in the works. And we're looking forward to that continuing to streamline. And so when it comes to ensuring that our facilities are meeting the needs of our students, meeting the needs of our families and teachers, as I stated, I believe our best way to do that is partnering with our board of supervisors and ensuring that when we're talking with them in our committees, that we create a priority on repairing those needed facilities and ensuring in the next budget that we have an ample construction budget to do those things. What I will say is that I believe any kind of single dollar spent has to be made at a priority, saying that if it's a large investment, it has to be able to be improved with our constituents. And I believe that's done through communication and partnership.
Thank you.
Yeah, so one of the things that I've really enjoyed being at the school board meetings has been seeing how different folks who manage things like transportation come and present plans. We have X amount of buses, this bus isn't doing well. I am saying if we spend money like this on a new bus and we retire these buses, I think we have incredible people, some of the grounds people, hey, we have this mower, we don't use it, and we think if we can sell it, we can get this money, and if we have this money, then we can buy this, which is going to serve the school ground so much better. I think we have amazing people at Orange County Public Schools who know how to protect capital by looking at how we're spending money and how we can make better decisions to cut budget to protect capital. I agree, we need to make sure we're investing the capital we have in the right way. But can I tell you guys something else? One of the things that I have been doing a lot and hearing a lot when I'm at the doors is there's a lot of concerns about Head Start and that program being funded and parents who need to have access to it, having access. I've also heard a lot about special education programs. When we invest early and find students early who need Head Start and special education programs, we save capital. We save human capital because if we can get them, if we can find them and get them in early and serve them early, they have a better trajectory for their life. That's human capital, but also we spend less per student when we get early intervention in those students. So I think that's another way that we can save capital. But let me tell you something even crazier that I've been researching. Did you know you guys can donate to the public schools and it is tax deductible? What? There is so much that we can do as a community to help our students out, especially those students who need Head Start, especially students who need special education materials, supplies, interventions that maybe we can't afford right now. And I would love to work with the community to find ways to enhance what we're doing at the public schools and all be invested in a new way with our students. I know you already paying your taxes. You wouldn't be here if you weren't paying taxes, but I want to spend your dollars well, but I also want to open the doors because I think there's a lot of empathy in this room and we care about the treasure of our children, and we want to make sure we invest in them well. And so I'm really excited. Again, I love to innovate. I want to find new ways to serve our students and grow our Orange County Public Schools.
Thank you. Next question. Do you support looking at a market analysis of school divisions to determine where we rank in terms of salary?
Yeah, so really interesting. My daughter-in-law, she teaches 3rd grade at the Locust Grove Elementary School. And we were in a discussion the other day about she could get a job at Spotsylvania, make $4,000 more a year. And I asked her, is that tempting to you? Would you move to a different school district, a different job for $4,000 a year more? And she said, no. And I said, why? And she said, I like my principal. I like the culture of my school. So while I do think we need to pay our teachers well, and we do need to be competitive, I don't think we need to be competitive to Loudoun County or Fairfax County. But if we can invest in the culture of our schools and make sure that our teachers have a great administration, are very well supported, have the things that they need for their classrooms, we will keep them because our principals, our administration create great culture at our schools. And I know we can do better, but That's what keeps teachers. It's not just the salary. It's a really great school culture. And I know that's just one, I'm talking about one teacher, but I know that that applies to other teachers too. They don't fly out of the county if they've got a good culture and they feel supported for $4,000, for $5,000. So
Thank you, Mr. Whittington. Mr. Martin.
Great question. And actually, that's something we already do as a school division, right? So we always are actually looking at where we rank with our surrounding counties. And we have to also understand that as an employer, we are in competition with everyone around us. And so then as we rank with salaries, and as I'm speaking with teachers, and speaking with the Orange County Education Association, it is clear that if we cannot be second to none in teacher salaries, then we must be second to none in everything else. Okay. And so then when we were talking and voting on the budget last year, it was very clear from Dr. Dan Hornick that we don't have to be first, but we cannot be second to last. And that is where we are when we are in teacher salaries. When I'm speaking with Orange County Education Association and speaking with our teachers across the county, I ask that very same question. What keeps you here? Why are you here? My mother, I asked her the same thing. Why'd you retire from Orange County? Right. And it was back to what I said earlier. There's always going to be a difference between a teacher and an Orange County teacher. What is the critical asset of why so many teachers stay is because of what they get to do every single day. And that is to educate your kids, educate the Orange County student. And that is something that I believe is our core competency, is the students that we get in our classrooms, the culture that we once had here in Orange County. That is what kept our students here. That's what kept our teachers here. Orange County has never been the highest paying school district in the Commonwealth. It's never been the highest paying school district in the region. However, our culture has always been the best. Our professional development opportunities that we offer our teachers used to be among the best. When we're talking about supporting a teacher when they first enter the classroom, how are you going to ensure that we support them all the way throughout when they have to get recertified in their praxis? When we get and onboard new teachers from out of state, how do we ensure that they're onboarded properly to our Virginia regulations, ensuring that they're teaching to curriculum and teaching to standard? Those standards aren't in place now. And so it's aspects like that that we can be just that much better. And thinking through the eyes of the educator, I think is going to be the best next steps to ensure that Orange County is the best place to work, to ensure it's the best place to teach, to ensure it's the best place to raise a family and to learn. I've said it all the way throughout that I've been able to show my plan and talk with my plan and create my plan with teachers across this county, which is why they're supporting me to be your next District 4 Orange County School Board representative. Because these aren't just talking points, but they're plans that we created together. They're plans that we're ready to implement together as well.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Okay, we have 2 questions left. So the first question is, and we'll start with you, Mr. Martin. Are you committed to keeping party politics out of board decisions and focus on students?
100%. That's a very easy answer. My motto, the students matter. And I think throughout tonight, you're going to hear, it's very easy to repeat that, repeat ideas, repeat things that we're going to do. However, on day 1, that is how we opened our campaign. The reason I'm running is because we have seen what politics has done to our kids, to our community, and to our teachers. We have fallen 33 spots in Virginia public schools rating across the Commonwealth. Orange County, that started in the year of 2021, okay? And so then when we look at the degree that partisan politics has harmed our kids, it is substantial. The number one reason why teachers are leaving, giving their exit survey and giving it anonymous to the Orange County Education Association, is because they felt like they were working in Congress rather than working in an Orange County classroom. And so I'm here to say that I very much do believe that politics belongs on Capitol Hill, not in the Taylor Education Administration complex. And what we're going to do every single day is ensure that as we're making decisions, that students are at the center. And we have to ask ourselves this repeated question: how are we going to ensure that this decision makes Orange County more competitive? My platform is clear in doing just that. 1, investing in career technical education. Invest in career technical education to ensure that our students have access to workplace certifications that make them more competitive on day 1, the moment they walk across that graduation stage. Certifications such as HVAC, if they want to go right into HVAC right after school. Certifications like real estate, you name it. We have the ability to introduce those skills here at Orange County Public Schools, and we can do it immediately. Also, when we're talking about investing into our students, ensuring that we're boosting experiential learning opportunities, talking about curriculum, let's ensure that our curriculum connects to larger business real-world skills. Let's partner with our small businesses and ensure that we're providing opportunities for our students that we haven't had before. Two, I think it's ensuring that we are retaining and recruiting critical personnel. Right now is a very big opportunity for us as a school district, as people are leaving and getting their degrees, they're making a decision on where they can go and get their first job. A lot of my friends have come out to school and come out with their degree, they come right back to Orange County, and the reason is simple. They want to be part of a generation that has a hand in crafting the next. And I believe that is integral in the next steps. And number three, my plan is simple, ensuring that we get divisive partisan politics outside of our schools every single opportunity we get. It is not just a campaign promise. If you go on my website, OB4OC, you'll see it's a commitment that we've already delivered.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Ms. Whittington.
So as many of you know, with Trump in office, there have been some federal mandates that have come down to get DEI out of schools, to get gender ideology out of schools, to protect girls' sports. And I agree, we should keep politics out of the schools. And we've seen a lot of those policies that the mandate that came down, it weeds it out. Those are policies, DEI and the gender ideology and boys and girls sports has been very divisive in our public schools. And I would like to see that not only be out via the mandate, but also stay out. Those things can seep in. Like I said, Fairfax is a great example. When I was up there for their school board meeting, not only were they talking about the girls that they took to have abortions, but they were also talking about they're rejecting federal funds because they're fighting to keep boys in girls sports. And I just think that that's ridiculous. And I think it creates a lot of animosity and tension in a school where it just doesn't belong. So it's hard. Everyone comes with their own ideology and their own worldview. I am a mom, I'm a Christian. I am conservative. I really, really care about children and making sure that they all come into a safe school where the focus is on academics without political agendas. And I've seen with my own children in the public schools, I've seen my daughter write papers because she knows her teacher is very, very liberal. And so she wrote position papers to get an A that were not her position, because she knew the teacher would put her thumb on the scale of her grade if she didn't write in such a way that she would get agreement with the teacher. So I would like to see all that out of the schools. I would love to see our children learn better critical thinking skills. Let's open up the room for debate. I saw my sons in social studies classes a lot of times get shut down because they had a more conservative view and wanted to talk about something. I think we need to train our children to be critical thinkers. Let the teacher take the role of, let's open up both sides. Let's have a dialogue. I hire most of those people that I hire in my organization. It's their first job out of college. And I'm telling you, there is a lack of ability of writing, like writing a basic email. There is a lack of ability in problem solving and critical thinking skills. And I'm hiring graduates of universities. I'm not hiring, someone who's a high school dropout. And, I think we need to really think about how do we engage, because you can't get politics out of everything. It's going to come up. It's in the news. It comes up when we talk about history. How do we do it in such a way in the classroom where no one's putting their thumb on the scale? We teach our children how to critically think, have their ideas challenged, but focus on that academic excellence in the schools.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, last question, and we'll start with you, Ms. Whittington. If elected, what would be your top 3 priorities on the school board?
Yeah, so parental rights. I want to make sure that parents know what's going on with their children. I think that is very key. Again, everything that happens in Northern Virginia, I feel like it trickles down here, and we've got to fight back against those things and make sure our children do not experience some of the things that are going on up there. And the way we do that is keeping parents in the driver's seat so they know what's going on. You love your child the most, you know your child the most. You can make healthcare decisions for them that they cannot make. I always think about my daughter, and if she had to go to the doctor and they were like, so what's your blood type? She probably wouldn't know. If they asked her, what's your family history on blood clots? She probably wouldn't know. So you're the drivers. The other thing is I really want to see a lot more budget transparency. We have the money for the Board of Supervisors to open up that CTE building. There's been a lot of delays. I don't know if it'll be done, even in the time that they're saying. I've helped with building projects. I want to make sure that we're being transparent about the money. We're not holding things up. We're getting things moving forward. Every time you delay in making a decision on a contract, the next time they rebid it, guess what? It costs more. And so I want to do that for you all. The other thing is I really want to reach out to these parents and let them know about Head Start. They can start in preschool and about the special education programs. Parents don't know. We are not doing a good job of educating them to know that these programs exist, that if they are at certain financial situations, they can apply for help for some of this stuff. I want to get that out there, and I want to go out and find these parents and these families that need this help and make sure we're pulling them in so that their kids can get early intervention. I think that's one of the most important things we can do for the future of Orange County students and families, is take care of those families who are facing those kinds of issues with their children.
Thank you. Mr. Martin.
Yes, I appreciate the opportunity. I know it probably sound like a broken record here tonight, but I really do believe that the top three things that we need to focus on are very clear. And I know they're clear because it was a collaborative approach that we created with teachers, students, and families as well. I believe the number one biggest issue that we're facing as a community is ensuring that we're retaining and recruiting the most critical personnel in our classrooms across this district, ensuring that we have the necessary teachers in our classroom to meet the demands of our students, and ensuring that our teachers are qualified to ensure that we're teaching curriculum that sets our students best up for success. We have to ensure that our schools are places where people want to come and educate, but also where they want to come and invest their time, so that when we're talking about building curriculum, we need to ensure that we have qualified teachers in the room that can talk about curriculum and how that will connect to their next step, how that will connect to the workforce, how that will connect to college, and also how that will connect in standings across the Commonwealth. And so then when we're talking about recruiting and retention, that is the number one issue that we're facing across this district, is ensuring that we have teachers in this community that want to be part of this community, that want to be part of our school system, that want to impact your kids in a way that we haven't seen before. My entire campaign is built on competing to win. And I believe an integral part of competing to win is ensuring that we're winning when it comes to recruitment, and we're winning when it comes to employing the best people in our classrooms. Second, it's career technical education, as we all know. As you know, an executive president of a large-scale organization, of a CTE organization, I know that they have real outcomes in our classrooms. Career and technical education is the way to the future in ensuring that our students have real hands-on skills that allow them to deal with the world's biggest problems. But also, too, there's a statistics now currently that there are more and more students with college degrees than there are vacancies right now in the workforce. And so we have to understand that as employers, as school board members, that we're making the appropriate decisions to ensure that we're setting our kids up best for success while they're still within our four walls, to ensure that they're best up for success when they leave those four walls. And I believe an integral part in that is ensuring that we're having career and technical education throughout our district, not just in high school, in middle school as well. There are opportunities and programs that allow our middle school students to see the fundamental basics of career technical education, allows them to think in advance of where they want their next step to be, even before they come into the high school. And so I'm fully in favor of ensuring that we're investing in those opportunities. As a student, as a former Orange County alumni, I know how practical and important they are. And third, it's ensuring, as the only candidate here, or as the only candidate in this race that's a nonpartisan candidate, that's not backed by any political organization, I know the importance of ensuring that we are focused on students, focused on education, and focused on outcomes. And those are the reasons why we have the support of the OCEA and Orange County Teachers Why I look for your support November 4th.
Thank you, sir. Should we get a round of applause for our school board candidate? Okay, so for those of you who are not familiar with this, here at Lake of the Woods, we have a tradition called We Help Our Staff Clean Up After an Event. So for those of you who want to talk to a candidate and ask an extra question or two, I'm sure they'd be happy to stick around. For the rest of you, if you could grab a couple of chairs and help us, put them in the back there, that would be